What a play after play after play.
And he's got a lot of room to run, and she is taking over.
Rose, that's the greatest conference in the country is showing out tonight, gentlemen. I cannot believe it. That is the greatest high school football game.
Thank you so much for joining us. Happy New Year. Happy New Tuesday. We appreciate you guys giving us your Tuesday night, as you always do, to talk about the greatest high school conference in the land on the WCAC Spectacular. On behalf of First Amendment Sports, I'm Ken Marangolo. He's Kevin Ricca.
I'm excited. I know we got a hell of a football player on this show tonight, but what I love is high school point guards, and he was a stud, played at the top level. I'm looking forward to that conversation.
He's Tim Strachan.
Oh, I can't believe it, man. We got 2020 behind us. I know we're still in the thick of this stuff, but, starting off the new year with a guest like Brian,
it's going to be fun.
This is great.
We're on a roll. We're picking up right where we left off at the end
wait.
of 2020. You know, Kevin, I knew it was just a matter of time before 2020 came to an end. I felt pretty sure about that one.
Yeah, I'm not worried about 2020. I'm worried about the pandemic. So when that one's over and we're back in the basement, we'll get it started.
Click on the logo, First Amendment Sports. Be a subscriber. It's free. You get a chance to see all our stuff when we go live, when we are back in gyms, on fields, and on the sidelines. Thank you so much. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. But let's do what we do at the top of every WCAC Spectacular. Let's get around the league. Brought to you by Lido Pizza. Starting out up in State College, Ashley Owusu, former PVI Panther, dropping 34 for the Lady Terps.
She's worth the price of admission, man.
Good.
Always, never lets you down. Heading out to Ann Arbor, where former DeMatha Stag, Hunter Dickinson, dropped a 26-point, 11-rebound performance for Big Blue.
Dropped some other stuff, too. A few words here and there and some stares. It was a little dust-up.
It was a little dusty.
It was fun
a little
to
dusty.
watch.
How about Arlington, Virginia? Congratulations, Alexa Wooten, 2020 Semper Fidelis All-American. Excellent, excellent job. Well done.
Wooten sounds familiar.
Staying with the sport, junior Tara Welch, heading from Olney to Blacksburg as the Falcon commits to Virginia Tech Girls Lacrosse program. Good job. Get that free education.
Oh, yeah.
Or get that education paid for. Staying put, former Falcon great Ibrahim, the running back who absolutely would have been playing on Sundays if he wanted to next year, is staying behind. It is shocking. He heartfelt letter to Gopher Nation. We wish him nothing but the best. He's got a big year ahead in store for him next year, no doubt.
That's very cool.
Heading on down to Leonardtown, Des Williams, a player we've gotten a chance to look at up close and personal. Des Williams from St. Mary's Riken. On his way to Wake Forest, safety, wide receiver, athlete. He's got big things in store for him. Over in Durham, North Carolina, a couple former Gonzaga Purple Eagles. Dean Engram, Luke Pettibone playing against each other in the Mayo Bowl. Loved watching them play in purple. I love watching them play on Saturdays.
Dean's got to catch that trophy next time.
He does have to catch that trophy. How about Purple Eagle Chuck Harris getting it done for the Georgetown Hoyas? What a special player. We had a chance to watch him, and I tell you what, Georgetown's got themselves a stud. Staying with the Gonzaga Purple Eagles. How about that? Geico Man of the Year. Caleb Williams. He must have accepted it down in OK.
Virtually. It's a virtual acceptance, I believe.
Virtual acceptance, yeah. Sure. I think that's right. He's going to be doing
awesome.
a few.
It is.
He's
well-rounded young man.
He's a cool guy, man.
Can you dig it? Stefan still getting it done, still crushing it for the Buffalo Bills on their way to the playoffs. It's a correlation, I think, between our control room man and the Buffalo Bills coverage. He is the best receiver in the National Football League this season. It's pretty hard to argue. He's
the best.
He's awesome. He's fun to watch, and he's getting it done with Josh Allen. Congratulations to all those Buffalo fans within earshot. Brought to you by Lido Pizza. Lido Pizza is square because they don't cut corners. Thank you so much for being with us in 2021. Lido Pizza, do yourselves a favor and eat right.
And, yeah, thank you for your sponsorship and your deliciousness.
I love it. Like I said, white pizza, sausage, pepperoni. It's the best.
Shout out Will Robinson,
Yes.
class of 94, DeMatha. You the man.
He's the man. Well, let's get to it, guys. We have another great show in store for our fans and watchers and viewers. The WCAC never lets you down, and that is going to be the case again tonight. We want to welcome to the show a man who needs no introduction because he's gotten it done at every level, and he's done it he's done it for the most part in his hometown, but I'll tell you what, he came back and did it against his hometown plenty. Number 23 for the Stags, point guard, as Kevin pointed out, and just an amazing athlete. First team, all nice. There he is, number 36, Brian Westbrook. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for being our first guest of the year. We timed it a little auspiciously, Brian, just to get it out of the way. We had you timed up because the Washington football team was playing the Philadelphia Eagles to wrap up the season. 2 or 3 months ago, it looked like it would have been a whole lot prettier than it ultimately was. I can't imagine you've gotten any questions or comments whatsoever on this game.
The game was crazy. Anytime we play the Washington football team, especially from being in the area, it's always a weird feeling because I was a Washington fan as a young man and growing up and things like that. And so it was important to me that they win games. But then when you go to Philadelphia, the only thing that you want to do every time you play against the Burgundy and Gold is find a way to win. And that feeling gets trapped inside of your heart. And so it's difficult for me, especially being a Philadelphia Eagle and coming back home and saying, okay, well, you guys won a game, we won a game, and having that type of conversation with some of my friends is always interesting. But, this one we allowed to get away from us. We had a shot in the game, but the coach did some interesting things there. I'm sure we'll talk about it.
Well, T, I'll kick it over to you because we do want to get to that, and we want to talk about coaches. But let's talk about some great coaches. And you played for them back here in your hometown, and that's just a much more positive conversation, that we can get started on.
Yeah, let's just start at DeMatha. What first of all took you to DeMatha, and then talk about Coach McGregor and what he has meant to you as a player and a person.
Well, so I grew up in Fort Washington, Maryland, and if I had went to public school, I would have went to Friendly High School. At the time, the public schools in the area just weren't getting all the requirements done for a lot of the players. A lot of the great athletes in our area weren't able to go to college in the way that they should because they weren't getting some of the classes, they weren't getting the right education. And I wanted to find a place where, first of all, I can get the best education possible. And obviously, DeMatha feels that being able to compete against some of the best athletes in our country, even in our area, DeMatha fulfills that. And more importantly, become a scholar athlete. Again, become a guy that was smart enough to be able to go to any college that I wanted to, but also had the ability to play sports at any level that I was interested in as well. And I was able to find that in DeMatha. And so that's really what led me there. A quick, interesting story. So, I was a great player in Boys and Girls Club, like many of the guys that go to DeMatha are. And I just kind of felt that going to DeMatha, things will just continue. Things will just get better and better and better, and I'll eventually be the best that ever lived. And so I go in my freshman year, and we had a coach named Dick Brown, and he literally didn't put me in one play. Not one play at all. Didn't play all season on special teams, offense or defense, and that was just crushing. That was devastating to me because, you want to play. You're a big fish in a small pond before you get there, and then you get there and you just don't play. It was crushing for me. But the key to DeMatha, the key to learning experiences, especially at a young age, is now it's time to learn resiliency. Now it's time to learn hard work. Now it's time to learn that not everything is going to go your way, that you got to figure things out. And that's exactly what I was able to do at a young age in my 9th grade year. And, from there, things figured themselves out.
And then Bill McGregor, whom you nominated as National High School Coach of the Year you guys, as the Eagles, go to the Super Bowl. So just talk about his influence on you, because obviously that in and of itself says a lot, but put a little bit more color on that.
Well, I was blessed enough to be able to play football and basketball at DeMatha, and so I was coached by the great Morgan Wooten, and really everyone
we were
knows
going to
his
go there.
story. And well, that's we'll get there next.
Yeah.
But Bill, the good thing about Coach McGregor was that, he was all about hard work. He was all about discipline. He was all about the process to getting there. We were going to be great athletes. We were going to be good at what we did, but he was about getting the weight room. Do the small things that make you better. And the blessing that I had with being able to play with both of those coaches is that they weren't only coaching about football or basketball at the time. They were coaching about life. I mean, there are some things that I've been able to take with me from things that happened 25 years ago in high school that I'm like, wow, that's what coach meant when I'm teaching my kids, when I'm teaching and dealing with lifetime things. And those are the things that are important to me. The constant conversation about getting better, the constant conversation about family and those types of things. Those are the things that I brought from Bill McGregor. And, there's no way that you can find a better coach than Coach McGregor throughout your high school years that are bringing young men up into the point where they're ready to go to college and the point to where they're becoming a little bit older. I mean, it was critical to my life.
Well, there's one coach, and it's Coach Wooten. And I do want to just end on that because Kevin talked about the fact that you were a two-sport athlete, very good in both sports. But I played for Coach Wooten. He had a huge impact on my life, as did Bill McGregor. And you said you were so blessed to have both, but just touch on Morgan a little bit and what he means to you now that he is gone from us.
It's always, of course, tough to hear that coach is gone. He's one of those guys that seem like they'll just live forever.
Yes.
They just keep getting older and better and smarter. And because he was able to go through so many different things, I'm talking about beating Power Memorial way before I was even thought of. I'm talking about the great teams that DeMatha had. And when I got there, we had great basketball teams. We just did. We had great basketball teams all the time. And again, his coaching wasn't necessarily about wins and losses. He believed that wins and losses, they'll come, right? The wins will come if you do the right thing. It was a process. I mean, I tell it to my kids all the time, focus on the process. If you focus on the small thing, the detail your work throughout the process, then the results will come. The results that you want will come. Coach Wooten was about that all the time. I just remember running the 20-2s and 11-1, just trying to get in shape.
Yep.
I mean, he had us running like a track team because he understood it was a long season. And in order to play the type of defense and offense that he wanted us to be able to play, it was about detailing our work in the process to get to that point. I mean, it's the small things that are important in life. And Coach Wooten and Coach McGregor did a great job of instilling those things in me at a very early age.
Well, I want to talk about the basketball side. I've been looking forward to it. Brian, you left the year after T and I graduated, so we were in college looking back at this league, and Ken, watching these guys. That's when you became you. And I know that you had a little bit of a mishap senior year football. You didn't get the opportunity to maybe show all the schools, the Power Fives, exactly who Brian Westbrook was, but that was not the case on the hardwood. 34-1 as a starting point guard senior year under Coach Morgan Wooten. I was many roles in this league we've all had, but from water boy and coach's son all the way up as the AD's son, I had the opportunity to scorekeep all the St. John's basketball games. I drive over from Catholic University, where all the people from Philly were. Watch you play before you became one of Philly's most beloved. And I just want you to talk a little bit about your senior year, that team you were on, the magical season that you guys had, maybe the game against Good Counsel, and where you guys stood up to everyone in the country in 1998.
Yeah, what's interesting? As many good football players that I played with, we played with just as many very good basketball players. So my last year was a sophomore year for Keith Bogans, Kentucky All-American, played in the NBA for a very long time. Mm-hmm. Joe Forte, again, North Carolina All-American, played in the NBA for a short period. But the talent was certainly there. And John Day Owens, he was a guy that went to Notre Dame, played a great deal of football in the NFL. Just did a great job. But you're talking about, a job as a point guard is interesting because I knew I had the ability to go score points. I understood I can do that, but that wasn't my role on the team. We had All-Americans that can go and do that. We had the number 1 and the number 2 player in the country that had the ability to score at will. So my job was to, number 1, play defense, and number 2, to make sure those guys get the ball in the positions that are best for them. And that's an interesting thing to try to understand as a young kid, because everybody wants points. How do you get your name in the paper? You go get points. You go get buckets. How do people respect you? You go get buckets. But the people that watch the game, that understand the game to that level, they say, okay, well, how are these buckets being created? How is the defense creating offense for this basketball team? Who's the leader? Who's the guy that when he talks, no matter if he talks a lot or a little, that everybody's listening? The people that know the game, not just basketball, but all sports, they understand where that comes from. And for me, it was important that for a younger team, especially with younger stars on the team, it was important for me that I was able to lead in that way, because, again, they didn't need my scoring. They just needed my leadership and to point them in the right direction. And when you talk about some of the players that I was able to play with, it was just amazing to watch their growth, but also amazing to be on the same team with them.
That's so cool. So that year nationally, the USA Today picked St. John's Prospect Hall out in Frederick with Stu Vetter. They got Damian Wilkins, Jason Capel, Larinaga's son, John. Come on, man. This team went 34-1. The DeMatha team, the one loss, it was the Chris Monroe and Roger Mason. And I can say this to you guys, while I was scorekeeping, those were 2 of the best teams. And I didn't get the chance to see them go against each other in that 50-49 battle. But I'd like to hear your perspective on that day and what you think about who was the real number 1 team in the nation that year.
Well, Kevin, I think you're talking about the year, because I graduated in 97. So right. I think you're actually talking about the year after me. So I think I had left those guys. They went on to play a great year, but I was actually at that game. Actually. Okay. I was able to see it. And again, there's always going to be battles. DeMatha, St. John's, Paul VI at the time, Gonzaga. There's always, and back in the day, Carroll was good at sports as well. Ken, you see, I purposely did not mention McNamara.
I know there was some deliberation there.
But I don't know what I'm laughing at, but
they did have a good team back in the day. But those battles. I mean, just think about the talent on both of those teams. Roger Mason. I mean, you're talking about talent. Chris Monroe. You're talking about talent. The ability to score the basketball, the ability to do big things, do whatever they want on the court. Those are the types of games that you want in high school basketball. You want to play the best of the best. And when you talk about the WCAC, that's what it was all about. It was about pride. It was about packing gymnasiums. And it was about some of the best players in the country, not just in our area, but some of the best players in the country going out there and showing out. And it was always fun to watch. Those competitions and those rivalries still last to the day, because some of the things that happened when I played, and of course, way before I touched the floor as well.
I'll tell you what's awesome. A Super Bowl caliber running back from our league, done some great things, talking passionately now about his high school basketball days. That's why we do this, Brian. That's why we do it, man.
And I know Brian played against an Eric Bethel-led city championship Mustang team, back in 95, 96. But that, I got
a lot of respect for Eric Bethel. He put a lot of points up against me several times throughout my career. They had some good teams there. Delonte Hill, you remember him back in the day. They had a lot of. It was another guard that they had that just was getting buckets all the time. And it was just, again, you're talking about some of the best talent in the country, all in one league. It's almost unheard of. That's why when you go to college and when I talk about the NFL and the things, and everyone has pride in their school and the area where they come from. But when I mentioned DeMatha, when I mentioned the WCAC, Gonzaga, McNamara, St. John's, those schools, everyone stops and, okay, now they understand what's going on. We're talking about some of the best sports, basketball, football, baseball, hockey, lacrosse in the country. That's the type of league that we came from.
I look on the screen and I see that green 36, and I'm just so happy it's hanging on the wall and not showing up on Sundays anymore. It was some long, long days watching. Fantasy football came along while you were a pro, Brian, and you are you're like a Hall of Fame fantasy player. I mean, there's no one who lost if they started you on Sundays because of how many yards you racked up, how many ways you did it. Like I said, nothing but respect. But I'm just happy to see that jersey hanging on that wall and not you're not wearing it anymore. Coming on down to Landover, man, that was tough to watch. But it's an honor because of how you did it. And I mean, maybe just want to ask you. We like to run our guests through a couple little. This was your life type thing. We have some names for you, and what I'd like to do is have Kevin read you some names, and then you just give us a 1 or 2 or 3 word thought that comes to your mind. When we hit you with these guys that you ran across in your career.
Sure.
Andy Talley.
Businessman, brilliant, and when I think of Coach Talley, I think of networking, meaning he understood. His thought process was always, this world that we live in, sports or not sports, is about who you know. Who can you touch? Who in your Rolodex can you touch and be around at a drop of a dime? Who can I call up and say, hey, I need you now, or I need your information now? Andy Talley taught me that. It was important that I spent a lot of time with him.
And it's important that I let everyone know these are coaches or teammates or friends or someone from your past here. Alex Smith.
I spent 1 year with Alex out in San Francisco. You're talking about the consummate pro, a guy that did things the right way, which obviously being from the mouth, it was important to me, doing things the right way. He was a great leader. We didn't have a very good team as far as our record. We had a bunch of talent, but we had to rein these guys in. We fired a coach in the middle of the year, and Alex was a part of that glue that kept us together. And to see the things that he's doing now, coming back from 17 surgeries, which, it's unheard of in the NFL to come back from that. That's just grit. That's just determination. That's just heart. And when you look at it, I saw that, 10, 11 years ago. For that year, I was out in San Francisco.
Very cool. Andy Reid.
Father figure, disciplinarian, as far as he wants to do things the right way. Again, some of the best coaches, they're detail-oriented. He wasn't a disciplinarian in the sense where he was going to go out there and, he had these strict rules. He said, listen, I'm going to treat you like a man. Here are the rules. And if you break the rules, you already know what the consequences are. And as a pro, that's exactly what you want. I know what the rules are. Now I have to make a choice as a grown man whether I want to abide by them or not. But now we're seeing, I think, a different type of Andy Reid that went out there with Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. We're seeing a play innovator, a designer, a guy that has the ability to draw up and scheme up guys to get open. And I think he's taking his career to the next level because he's been so special in drawing up plays for Patrick Mahomes to go out there and perform on the field on Sundays.
All right, now we're getting down to it. I'm going to start off with there's 2 left. I'm going to go with T.O.
T.O., one of the best athletes that I've ever played with, great competitor. I credit T.O. for raising our level. And what I mean by that, before T got there, we had been to, 3 or 4 NFC championship games. And we were a very good football team, but we were missing something. We couldn't get over that hump. And he brought something to us, and I think you guys will understand it. So, and this is simple, a small thing. When T.O. caught the ball, let's say we were on the 20 going down to the end zone, 80 yards to the end zone. He would catch a pass, 20 yards, a 20-yard pass, and he would run another 60 yards to score every single play. So, I mean, that's the type of athlete he is now. Yeah. I have to be honest. That extended our practice for another every dog day. But what ended up happening was when he started doing, I'm like, oh, well, that's what the greats do. Then I started doing it. And then you get 2, 3, 4 more people doing it. And next thing you know, the whole team is doing it. And so now your mindset as a player, when you catch the ball, when you run the ball in the game, is score. That's the end game. And so that just raises your level. And when you talk about the great players bringing the other players around them to their level up a little bit higher, T had the ability to do that. I appreciate that because it also made me a much better player and a much better professional, the things that he was able to show me and teach me while out there on the field.
That's awesome. I just picture Andy Reid sitting there by himself, because I know he ain't doing it. But
no.
The final name, Donovan McNabb.
One of my best friends, a guy that I have the ultimate respect for. Don, I think he gets a bad deal at times. you know, when he came to the Philadelphia Eagles, of course, I was at Villanova, so I saw it. They were a bad organization. They were a bad football team. And when you go from something like 5-11 or 4-12 to making the NFC Championship game just in a short period of time, a couple years, that shows you something about, one, your leadership. So Andy Reid came in. Of course, that was a big part of it, but also the leaders on the field. And Don was the consummate pro. He was a great leader on the field. I mean, he was a guy that took me underneath his wing and showed me the ropes of how to be a professional. I appreciate that from him. He's also a guy that went out there, and I remember my rookie year, he broke his leg early in the game at the vet against the Cardinals, and he continued to play. He just continued to play, and he wrapped it up, and he continued to play on a broken doggone leg, stood in the pocket, threw the ball, took shots. And, to me, that just shows toughness. That shows grit, determination. I mentioned that about Alex Smith. Donovan McNabb had that, and his ability to lead a franchise that, when he got there, was not very good, to 5 NFC Championship games, to a Super Bowl appearance, to have the type of career that he had, being a perennial Pro Bowler. To me, that was amazing. And I'm just happy that I was able to play with a guy like Don throughout my career there in Philadelphia.
Those answers are incredible.
Yep.
Dick Brown would be proud, my friend.
Hey, I want to end on this because we haven't touched on your college career at all, but I think it's really worthy of mentioning. I mean, you went to Villanova. You're the first player in 1AA history to score 160 more points twice in a career. First player in the history of college, any level, with 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 yards receiving in one season. He's one of 3 Villanova players in history to rush for over 1,000 yards in a season, and he accomplished it 3 times. And then you go on to win the Walter Payton Award as the top player in the NCAA Division I AA. You were coming out of DeMatha. You had injuries. You were considered small. You couldn't make it at the big Power 5, but you go out and you prove it at the 1AA level, and then you prove it at the next level. Just when you look back on it as the young kid who was 5'0" and 100 walking into the doors at DeMatha, just what are your reflections on that?
It's weird because, again, my senior year at DeMatha, I might have played 5 games. I tore my ACL in the summertime. I tore my ACL in August during practice. So I might have played 5 games my senior year in football, and then my senior year in basketball, I played pretty much the whole season. And so it was a difficult transition for me from being one of the most recruited guys in the area to being not recruited at all. And in 1996, I know you guys understand this, when you tear an ACL in 1996, that means your career is over. Nobody expects you to be able to do anything. So I was actually lucky to be able to get a scholarship to go to Villanova. They were one of the few schools that said, okay, I'll come watch you play basketball. And a funny story, so I'm playing basketball, and Coach Wooten comes in, and he said, listen, tonight the coach from Villanova's coming. They want to see you play. I think they're going to offer you a scholarship. And I'm like, that blows my mind. I was a decent basketball player, but, again, I'm playing with some All-Americans. I'm like, wow, Villanova's a huge school. Of course, I watched them growing up, the battles of Georgetown. And I'm saying to myself, I'm going to be a Villanova point guard when I go there. I'm going to be the best one ever, this, that, and the other. And so I said, Coach, I'm so excited to go play basketball there. And he's the whole time he's giving me the look like, what in the world are you talking about? And eventually he just says, listen, Villanova's basketball team is not interested in you, so you can get that out of you right now. The football team wants you to come play for me. And my immediate response was, Villanova has a football team? Like, I had no clue that they had a football team. But, my experience at Villanova was special because, I didn't go there thinking go play in the NFL, to be good enough to play in the NFL. I went to Villanova solely thinking about, do your best to network, do your best in school so that you can make a career for yourself after college and get a job after college. That was my sole goal. Of course, along the way, things just worked out for me. I worked my butt off. I wanted to outwork everybody. I wanted to be the best player that I possibly could. And, I was an All-American 3 times. I was able to win a bunch of awards, break a bunch of records. But to me, it goes back to what I learned in my freshman year at DeMatha. It was all about, the hard work, the discipline, the dedication. You're going to get out of any situation exactly what you put in. If you put that work in, that sacrifice in, then I guarantee you it will work, and things will figure themselves out for you over time. And that works in everything: sports, school, work. That works in every single application in life, and that's the most important thing for me there. And I was able to do some amazing things. I mean, I still have the most all-purpose yards of any college athlete, any college football player in all divisions. And I credit being at the Villanova for me developing my all-around game. Because I went to a small school, they didn't say, okay, we're going to hand you the ball, 1,000 times every season, and expect you to be the best running back. Because I had the ability to do that. They said, okay, let's make your game more well-rounded. Go play in the slot. Go figure out, how to read defenses. Go play on the outside. Go learn how to run routes. They allowed me to do that. And those are some of the skills and attributes I was able to use in the NFL to make me a player that it was just hard to defend in certain situations. And, Villanova is a special place to me. It's the same type of situation. They hold a special part and place in my heart the same way that DeMatha does. Because as a young man, you're growing there. You're trying to figure out life, and you're away from home at this point, and going to a situation from the D.C. area to Villanova outside of Philly. That was a big jump for me. But the people in the area, the coaches and the staff, and of course the players did a great job of just making me feel comfortable and at home. And in that environment, I was able to excel. I'm certainly appreciative of that.
And I just have to say this, as a D.C. sports diehard, first of all, I love to hear that you were a Redskin fan. I now forgive you for going 9-4 against us and your homecoming on November 11, 2007, when you went crazy on us. But not many people that are big Philly fans, big D.C. fans, embrace the same athlete. And you're one of very few people that we can say that about. And we've thought about it. And you can go into the past, and you can go way, way back. But
Sonny Jurgensen was the only one I can think of.
Sonny Jurgensen, we'll deal with Bryce Harper later. But I just want to say this. This man's attitude, the way this guy came from, our place, our conference, is why we love you. But the way you played and what you overcame is why we and Philly love you. The Philly underdog guy, the hard worker, the guy that came from injury, the 12 years you spent in Philly. I just wanted to congratulate you on that, Brian Westbrook. That doesn't happen in this modern era, especially when you're involved in the media up there in Philly these days. It's just a very cool thing to have a guy on that can go to a city like Philly, and they love him there, man. You are a legend in Philadelphia and a legend down here in D.C. Congratulations on that, man.
Thank you so much, Kevin. I appreciate it. I won't be long here, but I love the Washington D.C. area. I grew up there. My family is still there. I try to get there as much as I possibly can. And of course, I love Philadelphia. I can't stay in Philadelphia because they want to talk football every day, all day long. But I love being able to visit that area because that's where my heart and soul certainly is. When you talk about D.C. and Philadelphia, you're talking about passionate sports fans. Basketball, football, baseball, hockey as well. And that's what I was raised, and that's how I cut my teeth in that type of sports environment. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys as well. I appreciate for having me on the show. Tim, you are the man. I'll never forget. I went to DeMatha, and Tim was a man, and I think you got injured that year I got there or that summer that I got there. And all you would hear was stories about this stud quarterback that did so many different things. And, of course, the injury certainly, broke a lot of hearts. But I think you have exactly what DeMatha put in me. The mindset that I don't care if you get hurt. I don't care what happens to you. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you. Everybody wants you to just go out there and make something of yourself. And when I talked to Tim, I don't know, a month ago or so, he said, I'm a lawyer now. I'm doing all this, that, and the other. And the last time I had talked to Tim, I kind of keep up with him a little bit. He was doing sports, and I think you were doing some Maryland games or whatever it was at the time. And I'm like, wow, Tim stuck with it. I mean, that's a long road. That's a long time since high school for us. And it's amazing. But it's stories like that pull on your heartstring, that show people and our kids and people that watch you guys show it and follow me that, listen, Nobody cares about, the small things that happen to you. Nobody cares about the complaints. Nobody cares about, the bad things. Go make something of your life. Go do that. Go make the most of yourself, the best that you can with your abilities. And then once you do that day after day after day, those days turns into years. Those years turns into decades. The next thing you know, you look back and you're like, wow, I had a pretty doggone good life. And at this point in my life, I'm 41. I've had a good run. I've had a good life so far. I'm excited about what's to come. I'm sure you guys are excited as well.
So excited and so thankful that we started 2021 with Brian Westbrook.
Yes.
Man, could you start it off with a better guest?
I want to just
amazing.
Yes.
Thank you for your time. We are going to call you back and have you back. And what we'd love to do is when we get sports going back up again and we can go through some of the things that these amazing kids are up to. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your perspective on that. Thank you so very much.
Ken, I want to come back on when McNamara has a good basketball team.
Yeah.
I'll sit in, I don't know, 10, 15 years from now.
Got it on tape.
Defending girls champions, but I know that's not what you're talking about. I love it.
Coached by a DeMatha grad.
Coached by DeMatha grad. That's right, Frank Oliver.
Frank was on my team.
Yes.
He's a year ahead of
Frank
me.
coached the girls.
Frank's got a
Mustangs
hell of a
team.
program over there in Forestville.
Yeah, you poke the Mustang, you get the hooves over here, apparently.
You're going to get a call, Brian. You're going to get a call from Frank. I'm telling you.
It's amazing.
That's right.
It's amazing. Listen, man, we wish you nothing but the best. We appreciate you making our show better with your presence, and we look forward to hearing from you and keeping track of you, man. Thank you so much, and Happy New Year.
Thank you, guys. Happy New Year's. Take care.
Take care, Brian.
We did it again. Man. I'll tell you what.
Heck, man.
That was the feel-good hit of 2021. It's only been 5 days long, but I was.
We needed it.
I know. I was listening. I was on the edge of my seat, and I was like, man, I feel really good. I've had a pretty doggone good year already.
Doggone it? I love when he says doggone because it gets me fired up. You know what?
I know.
How good is he at what he's doing right now,
Look.
which he shared with us?
I'm very appreciative of what Brian said, but I think his point was bigger in that these schools instilled certain things in us that helped us become the men that we are. I am proud of coming from where I am from. You guys are proud from where you came from. I'm proud Brian is a Stag. We are proud Brian is from the WCAC,
yes,
and we can have a guy like that come on and share that story and his life and his passion was unbelievable. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it, man. It was awesome.
We are going to really start getting things going here in earnest in 2021. We have some exciting announcements about our show we'll be getting to in the coming weeks. We have some awesome pieces being made by some amazing WCAC graduates who will be bringing us stories from each and every school because the kids and the folks at all these schools are doing amazing things. We are going to make sure people know exactly what they're doing and what they're all about. In the community, we're going to be talking to teachers. I'm you know what? I'm putting the pressure on myself by telling you we're absolutely going to make sure that we shine a light on the amazing teachers in this conference. They will have a spot.
No quizzes
on this show. Oh no, there will be a quiz on a weekly basis. There will be a pop quiz. I appreciate everyone for hanging out with us on a Tuesday night. I want to say thank you to Brian Westbrook from the bottom of all of our hearts. I want to say thank you to the DeMatha community for sharing him with us tonight. Thank you to MMD, Victor Maddox, Luke David. I want to say thank you to Lido Pizza for being our sponsor, our first sponsor on board for 2021. We'll have some more coming, but Lido was first. Do yourself a favor. Go eat some pizza, the best pizza in Maryland. Until next Tuesday night, he's Tim Strachan.
I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Brian. See you all next week.
He's Kevin Ricca.
Brian Westbrook is a stud human being. That's why he's in all the Hall of Fames. Could listen to him talk all night.
On behalf of First Amendment Sports, subscribe for free in the corner of the screen. I'm Ken Marangola. We'll see you next Tuesday night. This was the WCAC Spectacular.
Happy New Year.